Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Be Mindful podcast. Today, we have our incredible guest, CEO of Heroes Foundation, Lawrence Arjoon. How are you? Thank you for joining us here.
Oh, I am great. Thank you. Thank you very much for having me part of this fantastic initiative. I really want to start by congratulating you on this initiative. This is really important to be speaking out about issues that are important to everyone in our society. And it's great that this is being championed by someone like you. So thank you for that.
Oh, thank you, Lawrence. That was so nice. Thank you. So firstly, you, as I said, you're the CEO of Heroes Foundation, which is an incredible organization. For me, I just want to focus quickly the Heroes Development Program, previously known as the Youth Development Program, and it's designed to develop and harness the heroic and creative energy of Caribbean children and youth to become 21st century leaders. How incredible is that statement and the work that you're doing, that mission? It's truly incredible, but also you focus on psychosocial development.
Mhm.
Can you tell us more about the Heroes Foundation, and then we could lead into the other questions?
Definitely, sure. So the Heroes Foundation started 20 years ago by a man called Philip Julian and an amazing advisory board made up of people like Justice Ulrich Cross, Pat Bishop, Clive Panton, Hazley Crawford, people who believed that every single person, every single child has a hero within themselves, and we can find ways to support them to find and develop into that hero.
We share that vision of the youth are the future leaders of TNT and the world. So for you to empower and truly see that and allow them to see it in themselves, I really commend you all for the work that you're doing. And it takes all of us, as we say here in TNT, it takes a village to raise a child. So thank you for doing your parts, and let's continue to make a brighter future for them, right? That's the goal.
Definitely, you are spot on that the youth, children and youth are the future. They are going to be leading the future, building the future, creating the future. And if we really want to have a sustainable future, then we have to have some sort of sustainable inputs into development of children and youth today. What we put in today is going to directly result in what we see in our society tomorrow. And that's where, to your point about the Heroes Development Program, that's where the Heroes Development Program comes in.
Right.
Because, I mean, so the Heroes Development Program, or HDP as we call it, has taken on numerous forms over the last 20 years. In 2021, we partnered with UNICEF to revise the curriculum
Right.
and really standardize it, not just for Trinidad and Tobago, but
Right.
for the whole Eastern Caribbean region. And there are three main parts of the Heroes Development Program. One is psychosocial development, the other part is sustainability education, and the third part is youth action.
Right.
Um, and I'll focus a little bit on the psychosocial development because it ties in very much to all of the work that you're doing.
Yes.
And I mean, it's really simple. Psychosocial is how do the needs of the individual, the needs of this person connect with the wider society and what is happening in the wider society. And when we look at the individual, we talk about their thoughts, their feelings, their emotions, their beliefs, their dreams. How do I understand who I am, what I want, what are my challenges, what are my strengths, what are the areas where I need support from other
Exactly.
people, and how do I start building myself to be my best self?
Right.
And also, how does that connect in with the rest of society? How does it look at our socioeconomic conditions, our political conditions,
Mm.
our cultures, our norms, our values, our behaviors? How do young people fit into society? How
Yeah.
does society influence them? And how can we support them to positively influence society and the world that they are going to inherit. And we tie that into sustainability education
Right.
because it is really important. And
Right.
sustainability education for us focuses on three core pillars.
Right.
One is equality and the elimination of violence.
Right.
And equality is the term that we have chosen. Well, actually, children chose it.
Right.
So I'm
Oh,
sticking a pin there, coming back to when we revised the curriculum. That curriculum revision was done very collaboratively with a number of stakeholders, including the young people in the program and who came from the program to understand what their needs, what their challenges were, what they saw as important.
honestly, the work that you are doing and your team is doing, it's truly, truly, I can't even express how impactful. You're inspiring me just listening to this. And I have to say, what I love about what you said was the fact that one of the part of the stakeholders was getting the children themselves involved. It's so important that they have that voice, that we don't always have to teach them, and we don't always have to be guiding them 24/7. Sometimes they guide us to the change. Sometimes because of their own hands-on experience, they give us intel that we would not be able to guess from the outside looking in. So the fact that they focused on these very important topics really truly shows the potential we have for the future when they're put in the positions of power. They can then guide those after them. So I just truly am inspired by what you all are doing and the space that you're creating for that communication and true, as you say, sustainable change. You know, it's not for today, for tomorrow. It's going to last for generations and generations. So again, thank you for just what you're doing. What would you say is the importance, if you had to summarize, for a child's development, that psychosocial aspect? Because of course, you know, Invisible Scars Project is focused on mental health. And I keep expressing my goal as well as to have a safe space in community centers throughout Trinidad and Tobago. Having the same mission that you have, where you have those pillars of guidance, what impact can you see that if we had in all 250, roughly, give or take, community centers throughout Trinidad and Tobago, we had that focus on psychosocial development? Do you see TNT taking that forward step to a whole new level of just being aware and really being able to make changes? Do you see that as somewhere we should focus on?
Excellent question. I'm going to tie that into to your previous point about giving the young people a voice. Last year, we worked with a little over 500 children. Over the years, Heroes has worked with thousands of children in the country. The top feedback that we get from children is that adults don't listen to them. They don't listen to them when they have problems, when they have challenges, when they're afraid, when they're not comfortable, when they are curious about things. And I think that is the first step that we need to, one, acknowledge, and two, really deal with if we need to build those safe spaces for young people. How do we create spaces where there is trust, where there is real safety and the safeguarding happening, and where the young people believe that their voices are heard in a way that supports them? That is the first step, and it is a serious problem that we face in Trinidad and Tobago. The other thing is, so we did a mental health and well-being assessment at the start of 2021, and we are going to continue doing that annually to get a sense of the mental health and well-being of children. And we did assessments with 200 children, locals and migrants. And what we found was that 95% of the children assessed were at risk of emotional behavioral challenges or emotional behavioral problems. And that is, they have challenges understanding and managing their internal states, their emotions, their feelings, in responding to changes, adapting to changes, expressing themselves. And that directly shows up in a lot of the things that we see in schools, particularly the incidence of school violence. Where we worked with 31 secondary schools last year for the Spotlight Heroes program, where we focused on an elimination of violence and abuse against children, and with 9 migrant groups. Out of all of those, I think it was like 13 or 14 projects. Now, all of these students had to lead projects in their schools and communities as part of the program. And we got like about 14 or 15 projects focused on mental health. And it was a surprise for us in the way they connected mental health to violence and abuse. And some of the things that were shared with us from children, I mean, one student in Goodwood Secondary School in Tobago said it. He said, you know, when we came back out after the pandemic, yes, we had school fighting because you had all these feelings, you had all emotions. Somebody say something, you'll get vexed, and you had no way of dealing with it. You had no way of dealing with it. So the first thing that they would do is start fighting because it was easy. Somebody upset you, you lash out. And what we were impressed by is what the school did. So it wasn't only supporting us and the program, but the school said, okay, so you all need ways to build relationships, to communicate, to manage your feelings and understand your feelings. Every Wednesday after lunch, extracurricular activities, no class. So the whole school engages in extracurricular activities after school. And that had a huge impact on the school. And they saw the number of school fights go down significantly. What we saw through the program is that these young people, when they went into the pandemic, they had to transition to online. We were there with the challenges with them because we had to transition online as well. We had to then spend the time with the teachers and the parents to help them understand what the children were going through.
Right.
Because from the parent perspective, my child is now spending all this time online. So they're not being productive. I don't know what they're doing online. Online is a dangerous place. So we had to help them understand the tools as well so that they could monitor the children, but they could also understand how online works. Um, and then what the children were saying was that, sometimes they had to take care of the families, take care of the children, take care of the siblings in the homes because they were the older ones. And then your parents would see you sitting down and they would say you're not doing anything and they would find things for you to do or tell you do things. And the question about rest, the question about time to think showed up. And we had to help parents understand that, children are just like adults. They need time to rest. They need time to think. Um, and they need space and support to manage all of the stresses that they have. Because if you have a child who has the stress of school,
Yeah.
the stress of having to pass exams, the stress of having to support in the household, and about 70% of our children that we work with come from environments where they have to support in the household. Stress of traveling. And I think people who do not travel do not appreciate these challenges and stress of traveling, especially as a child and especially as a girl in Trinidad and Tobago. There are serious stresses and pressures and subconscious thoughts that run through children's head, especially girls when they have to travel, because there are real risks that they
Right.
face. And then all of the other challenges of being a person, of having to interact with your friends, having to find places in school. There are some amazing teachers who do brilliant work in this country. But then we also have some teachers who say some very questionable things to children and create unnecessary stress in their development. So children go through a number of stress and pressures, just like adults. Children have less support and less access to support than adults. So any support or intervention that goes towards supporting psychosocial development with children will definitely have a significant impact on them. And we will be able to see it and map it because the children will share openly.
So we put it a lot of times with adults. They're like, "Well, we had it harder than you.
Mm-hmm.
You have nothing to stress about." It's so untrue because these kids
Mm-hmm.
go through so much, and you just listed. I think that was the most beautifully explained way of the stresses that these kids do deal with. And let's be real, there are socioeconomic factors that play a part in different kids' lives, right?
Yep.
We can't even, some have it harder, even more so than what you just said.
Mm-hmm.
And it's interesting because I love the fact that you guys focus on that extracurriculum, those outlets, because I keep stressing in my project, Invisible Scars project, that we need to have more extra, we need to have more options for them,
Mm-hmm.
where they don't think about the academics, where they don't think about the stress of the grades, where they have maybe yoga classes or Zumba classes or
Mm-hmm.
something to get active, because physical health again taps into your mental health.
Mm-hmm.
And these things that you just need to create those safe spaces and outlets for them, because it does make an impact. And again, bringing it back to the point of school violence, there are studies being shown where in Toronto and different parts of the US as well, so US and Canada right now, they are implementing meditation as a form of punishment in school. So instead of detention where they sit down and they're sulking and they're in silence, they put them in meditation. So for example, those kids who have gotten into physical altercations now have to go to meditation. And they are seeing real life results where they are having improved grades, more communication in classrooms with children, less altercations. And again, they come from these homes where they have a lot of trauma. So again, when you look behind the action, and think, why are they lashing out instead of how dare they lash out?
Mm-hmm.
We begin to learn that these kids have so many traumas, again, being an adult at a young age,
Mm-hmm.
having to think about how they get their food, how they get to school, how they're going to have good grades, how they're not going to end up in gang violence, how they're,
Mm-hmm.
you know, all these things that, again, for an adult to say, well, we had it harder, completely eradicates that empathy, and you
Yep,
lose communication. That's when
definitely.
kids begin to shut down because they think no one understands them. And again, speaking from a mental health point, this now becomes a spiral. No one understands me. I'm
Mm-hmm.
alone. I'm afraid. I feel like I'm a 30-year-old at 12 years old.
Mm-hmm.
It's easier if I just don't live. And
Mm-hmm.
again, it just has so many negative impacts. So again, I commend you so much for listening, because I think a lot of us, we just need to listen to the kids around us, and again, create those safe spaces for them to feel like, one, they're understood, two, that they belong, and three, they have solutions and they have help. So
Definitely. And I just want to add, I just want to point out a significant risk to not doing what you just said, because you identified it very clearly. This is the mental health of the children that we are talking about. If we do not put in the work and provide the support there, and I quote this child every chance I get, a 14-year-old in the program told us, whatever we cannot learn in school or learn from people we trust, there is always some man in our inbox trying to tell us what they think we should know. And if nobody is listening to us and they are, we will start listening to them. That was a huge wake up call for us because she brought home the reality of it. And we see it. We see the challenges. You have young people here who are feeling that they are not valued, that they are not real people, that they are not loved. And there are people outside who will take advantage of that and who are taking advantage of that with children. We are creating that problem by not putting the right psychosocial support in place to support the mental health of young people, because we need young people to be resilient. We need young people to feel loved. We need young people to love themselves and know what is best for them. But then we also need them to be educated about what is right and wrong and what is safe and unsafe. An example I will use to parallel the experiences of children is what people complain about in the workplace, what adults complain about in the workplace. But how do you feel in the workplace? What sort of system and culture is your employer and your organization creating for you to thrive as an employee? It is the same thing as a child. What sort of systems are being put in place? What sort of culture is being put in place for you to thrive as a child in your school environment, in your home environment, in whatever environment that you operate in? And if the COVID-19 pandemic did not show us the importance of mental health, then I think we need to start saying it as it is. Because if we do not support the mental health and well-being of children, we will create adults who will not be able to deal with the challenges that we are seeing and that we will continue to see as the world continues to evolve. And the final point I will leave with is we really need to listen to children. There are a lot of things that they need guidance on, yes. There are a lot of things that they need support on, yes. But there are a lot of things that they are aware of and they understand. And we need to listen to children. We need to be open to listening, to really listening and hearing what they have to say. And then if we do not know how to deal with it, we need to be open to reaching out and asking for help, because there are a lot of opportunities and avenues to get help. And asking is a true sign of a hero, asking for help when you need.
exactly. You were incredible. Thank you for spending time with me. I know we've been trying to set this up for so long, so I'm so happy. Tune in next week for the Be Mindful podcast, and see you soon. Bye.